whatever events we are watching in the recent past, such as development in the banking sector, changes in the market cycle, and DeFi platforms coming out as lending platforms, almost all are mostly connected with the events which happened like 10 years back, 20 years back. And some even dates back like 40 years back. The reference of the situation goes to 1980s. Anyway, as investors, it is our responsibility to study the background and to evaluate how things are actually evolving. So if we do thorough research, then the recent documents which actually take us back to like 1 year back, 2 year back and all, we can go through them, we can understand them, and then we can slowly move into the recent documents to back in old documents which dates back like 10 years, which kind of refer to 1980s. At that time, we will have to look at some unusual things. For example, this one, Nicera. What is stated here decades back is kind of happening now. If we actually check this, they stated this way back, they foresaw this way back, and it is kind of happening now. So when what they have talked previously is happening now, like these are also something which research and researchers have explored previously, right? Global currency, one world currency, and it is kind of re-emerging now. So what next? After the implementation of such regulations, we may soon enter a territory which is unknown for the monetary aspects. But if you're actually reading through all of these documents, trying to gain as much as knowledge as possible and trying to connect the dots, then there may be a chance for you as an investor to stay relevant and to make profit.
It's quite widespread and systemically important fairly quickly if you use one of these big tech networks like Libra did. So we're working hard on it. We fully appreciate the importance of making quick progress. We have not decided to do this, though. It is not. I think that there are many questions that need to be answered around a digital currency for the United States, including issues of cyber issues, privacy issues. Many operational alternatives present themselves. And so we're going to be working through all of that and doing that work.
Here, the Fed representative Paul is kind of saying, we haven't actually thought about that, but we are currently looking into that after the announcement of Libra, blah, blah, blah. We still have many alternatives. As we know, we just checked, right? Retail CBDC, synthetic, hybrid, and all versions. So they're actually going through that. So he's kind of making excuse to kind of push this sometime more, right? But at that time, another question comes back from the Congress.
Thoroughly and responsibly, but with some...
Do you feel as though you have adequate visibility into what the Chinese are doing on this? Do you have sort of working level contacts that give you some idea of what their rollout is likely to do, likely to look like?
So that is when it's like, just firing that rocket, because for US, when someone is highlighting that, you see, China has already done that. They are going to roll this out in many ways. Do you have any knowledge about that? Are you even competing with them? That's kind of a question which came out. So, now he gets into a defensive mode and answers like this.
Yes, I mean, we certainly have that, but they're in a completely different institutional context. There are things that for example, the idea of having a ledger where you know everybody's payments, that's not something that would be, particularly attractive in the United States context. It's not a problem in China. So, but nonetheless,
but so from a competitive point of view, they're claiming they're going to roll it out on the Belt and Road countries sometime very quickly, and so this, I urge you to keep the fire lit.
Again, when ending the conversation, he was like, trying to say to the Fed, you see, they are going to do this to different countries in the Belt, One Road initiative. So if you still want that dollar to be dominant, you kind of, what is now it's a reserve currency. If you want to stay relevant in the new economy as well, you better pursue this one. That's kind of the information what I get from his question. right? And the reply from the Powell for his first question is like, yeah, you see, China is like that. It's an authoritarian country. They can do like this, but we can't do like this. So it's kind of, they are slightly moving from the main retail central bank digital currency aspect towards a synthetic digital currency aspect, because what China is rolling out will be a retail central bank digital currency. The reason they have much more control about anything within their country. And at the same time, we can ask whether is it only China, is it only that one road, one belt initiative guys going to follow this, or other developed countries, nations are actually going to follow this? That can be a question asked.
I think ultimately that's the direction of travel, and that will just be a question of timing and who moves there in sort of most quickly and with what kind of speed. So we're seeing the Bank of England, the Bank of Japan, the ECB, and a few others working together now with the BIS to research what CBDCs mean for macroeconomic stability and obviously questions around AML and CFT compliance and so on. So there is
So the direction is somewhat clear, right? Majority of the country is actually moving in that direction. In this particular conversation, if you are going through, you can actually check Exap Yoyo in Twitter. They actually talk about Sweden, what kind of efforts they are leading, and how this is actually changing the entire Eurozone. Not only Eurozone, but the world is looking at it and they are trying to change. And the initiatives which he has mentioned, like Bank of England, Bank of Japan, BIA, and the regulatory aspects which he discussed, which is anti-money laundering, in that aspects, RippleNet is something which provide them better control and follow all these regulations. Because if they are to adopt some other thing in the terms of a new blockchain technology, then for them there would be a lot of hurdles to go through. Like, again, all the regulatory clarity has to be there. If they don't have it, then they need to go through a company which follows these regulation. Now, when you only have certain regulation in some countries, not in all countries, but you need to access all the countries, then this is one aspect. You can actually use Swift. As of now, how you're doing, you can follow that. And at the same time, if there are nations like, say for example, Canada, they have announced it, right? Say for example, UK, they have a bit more clear regulations. If you look at Thailand, you have that. If you look at Philippines, Mexico, you have that. So towards those countries, you can actually use RippleNet, and the other aspects, until you get that clear go signal, you can still use Swift. As the environment is changing, banks are actually coming in. They have to stay relevant, so they are introducing new asset class which the consumers are interested in, because the attitude of consumers is actually changing. So they're actually coming in, providing crypto assets. They are creating their strategy for crypto sector, and they will be offering this as soon as possible. And once they start to do this, automatically their competitors will also follow. Is actually showing that the market is kind of changing, right? We previously discussed, like, Fed is, it's like they have diarrhea, they are printing as much as possible, and 7 trillion it just came like that. And they highlighted like money does grow on trees. So now that the liability of central banks, this is just Fed, right, is actually way higher than what it used to be. When they are introducing a central bank digital currency here, they have a lot to consider, because it's not only going to be gold as being highlighted here. Say $7 trillion are there, that doesn't mean that everything is going to be backed by gold, because these are liabilities of central bank. And if you are to do that, then the price of gold will skyrocket. Say it will go to like $7,000, $10,000 per ounce. That's going to be so huge. But central banks, for them, it's not only this thing, right? They have a lot of liabilities. We discussed that previously, like $60 trillion for if they are considering the unfunded liabilities, if they are looking at the foreign exchange reserves. So with this liabilities and reserves, they have to balance this. So when they are stepping into a new technological era, considering central bank digital currency, let it be synthetic, hybrid, or anything, but they're going to back this 100% with that central bank digital currency. So as the gold guys showcase that, yeah, everything is actually going to come towards us, we won't actually say everything is going to come towards XRP, but everything will flow into XRP or flow through XRP. That is kind of for sure in my aspect. Say some of this market share go into gold. It's actually okay, but gold then as a reserve of central bank. They also have other liabilities. They also have other reserves. And if they are actually making synthetic central bank digital currency, which should be interoperable with all the different elements in their monetary policy, then they need ILP. Yes, there are other type of ILPs coming out, but no one has this network, meaning the network efficiency of Ripple with the announcement coming in this. Well, I hope personally from last time, which was 300, this time it's going to be 500, 600, maybe for us as a surprise it can be 700 to 1000. And in that aspect, say 1000 financial institutions coming into a network, that is more than a tipping point if you're asking me. Now, when we actually talk about RippleNet, we in the XRP community know that it is decentralized. It's not centralized. Because when we are actually looking at XRP Ledger in particular, this upgrade which is actually coming in is not completely backed by Ripple, but still they have the majority in terms of the number of validators in percentage. So the checks amendment has now crossed the necessary 80% threshold. If it stays above that threshold for 2 weeks, it will be activated on the XRP Ledger. So it is kind of clear that even though Ripple, the company, doesn't actually want that, still it's happening. That is a network. It is how it should be. So when central banks and others are actually looking at this, for them this will be kind of okay, because this is how, say, the supranational organizations like IMF works. If, for example, if they are to implement that SDR, they need the 84% vote something, and in that aspect, say for example, US has around 16% of vote, and this is actually divided to different nations. So in the same respect, if you are running a validator, say for example Fed is now running a validator, right? So in that aspect, these all different central banks will come in, start their own node, run a validator node, then they will have these rights, right? They can vote. If they don't want something to happen, they can stand against it. If they want something to happen, they can work on that, right? So this will be something of interest for them too. Now, before jumping into other documents, I would actually like to show this. This is not directly related to, not directly or indirectly related to XRP or Ripple, but when I saw this, I thought, I really want to share this with the scientific investor family. Bat-like sensors, meaning bats doesn't actually, they can't see, so they make sound which we can't hear, but with that they measure the distance, and that's how they travel. So that is kind of something which is being introduced, developed to be installed, to control the social distancing measure. That is something really bad. Bats and human beings, how can they actually even think about this? I don't understand what kind of researchers are doing this and for whom they are doing this. Anyway, we'll jump back into our topic. Now, this is the first document through which we'll go. And, this is a recent document, and it is a working paper, meaning the research is still ongoing. And it is on June 20th. So we'll actually read through that and then connect it with another document here, which is issued recently, and another one which is coming out recently, and then some of those documents which happen to be like 1 year old, 1.5 year old, then 10-20 years old. So that actually gives us a lot of information. So this Federal Reserve document, when we actually move into, say, page number 3 here, at the bottom we can actually see they are talking about the synthetic central bank digital currency. The aspect in which they use that is like this. Say, propose that either an account-based central bank digital currency could be implemented via accounts held directly at central bank, meaning that account can be in central bank. Instead, you don't have to go to the commercial bank like this. Or central bank digital currency could be provided to public via specifically designed accounts at supervised commercial bank. That means this can be given directly to the public through the commercial banks as well. So they're actually looking like these two aspects, right? And then moving ahead, they actually just like this. what hold the corresponding amount of funds in segregated reserve accounts at the central bank. Like this commercial bank will have to hold the amount in the central bank as the reserves, and these are currently referred to as synthetic central bank digital currency. So as we go down in the paper, we could see this. So we could be thus at a juncture where changes in technology, namely the introduction of digital currency, may justify a fundamental shift in the architecture of the financial system, a central bank open to all. Now, if you look at that, you can actually see these papers which are being referred here dates back to 1980s, and that is a time when we actually had the idea of one world currency. We saw that, the Phoenix, right? Now the question kind of comes like, okay, but the commercial banks have a lot of money with them, the influence with them, blah blah blah. Then why would they actually jump into RippleNet? I would really like to highlight this. The central bank is more stable than commercial banking sector. Now that is clear for the governments and researchers and everyone. Now, even though commercial banks are really influential, they will come out like JPM coin. They will come out with shit coin. We don't care. But when the central banks are actually coming into one network, then for commercial banks to be relevant, to stay in the business, they need this thing to be in the same network. Otherwise, they'll go into a different network. Now, yes, the central banks, if they are in RippleNet, like now, say for Bank of Japan, Bank of England, the Bank of America, Fed, everyone is actually checking RippleNet. So when they are running that inside this network, yes, it is interoperable, but still for them, the better thing for them will be to be in the same network. Now, when we are actually going digital, in between we had an announcement from Libra, right? This is like, say, 40% of the world's population uses Facebook, so they have the access to that. Now this document is so small in writing. If I actually zoom in, it looks like this weird. So I'll try like keeping it here. Okay, a global currency is no longer a far-fetched idea. Now this document, see, it's recent. It's, just 1 month old. So now they are really talking about this. And yeah, maybe Facebook's Libra was just a igniter at that particular point, but still now they are looking at other platforms as well. What if Amazon, Google and these giant platforms comes out with their own digital currency? The central bank digital currency then become irrelevant if people are to use those, right? So commercial bank deposit will face increasing competition when the money is actually going electronic and sent towards the central bank digital currency. So in order to keep the system running as it is without major disruption, like the banks going off in next couple of decades, they will actually make a network in which central bank will be still on top of the commercial banks, but commercial banks will be staying relevant. So in this one, the authority flows from central bank to commercial bank as of now. But I think central banks will have some things about that. Where the authority will actually be flowing. So previously we actually illustrated a picture which we here in the Scientific Investor channel created. Now this is another article back in 2019, late 2019, and in this one when we go down we can see the holding of cryptocurrencies. So in this one they are particularly talking about holding. For us we'll say hodl, but they say holding. So when they're considering about holding of cryptocurrencies, it's whether they call it digital asset, digital currency, virtual currency, it doesn't actually matter, right? They are considering about custody services. So why do they need custody service unless someone is actually going to come and buy massive amounts of digital tokens or digital assets? Because if it is for retailers, the current exchanges like Binance, Uphold, even eToro and other services are actually cool. It's okay. But when you are looking at institutions like Fidelity, Bakkt and others, you actually need these kind of regulations there. And the investors who will be coming in through those institutions will be buying in big, giant bags in millions. So for them, these rules has to be set, the regulations has to be there, and currently it is rolling out. Now we know in OECD countries, they kind of compete with each other. like if one country is going in one direction, they'll try and kind of like challenge them, move into another direction. And in this particular blockchain innovation adoption area, we had a Ripple, the company, talking. Say this guy, Les Shen, Vice President of Global Tax and Chief Tax, was actually talking about this Finance Session 6 from tax administration to transparency. Now, that's actually talking about digital financial assets. So they are actually really working so hard in bringing this digital assets. If, other maxis are coming out and say, they are just making money off you guys, XRP holders, they're just working through the Ripple net and making their progress. It's wrong. They are working so hard. I mean, Ripple, the company, is actually working so hard to make this digital assets a reality. Now, you'll understand when we actually move into the next page, we can actually see another area where the Ripple executive is actually talking. I think it's in the next area. Yep, it's here. So, digital financial markets. Okay, digital financial markets, new developments and regulatory responses in primary and secondary markets. Now, say for example, UK came up with an announcement previously, you can provide derivatives for crypto assets in the secondary markets that would be harmful for the consumers, meaning the retail traders, right? So in that aspect, this is another one. And here, head of global institutional markets from Ripple is actually there. And see, who else are there? It's from Binance, it's from Vanguard. So digital market talk is being happened and they are there. And the next is actually Marge and Dilentine, say here in this one. And in this one, they're actually particularly talking about remittance. So now, yes, remittance aspect is still there. It's reliable. It's moving, it's having that progress which we all need. And at the same time, they are also talking about digital financial assets, primary, secondary market trading. So that is also coming up. These documents are not that old. So in that aspect, keep in mind, this is coming, this is happening in the background. If you doubt yourself, if you doubt your investment, then there is nothing to say, because there are researchers from 2004, 2001, even dating back to 1980s, which also focuses on one world, one currency aspect. Now, yes, if that has to happen, all the central banks has to agree on one thing. Now that is kind of weird based on what's happening around the world. In say for example, India is fighting with China, US is fighting with China. It's like a rivalry. So in that aspect, it is kind of impossible for this to happen. But only if, say for US dollar is still relevant. There is nothing to shake it off. Then for China, yuan is still relevant. India, rupees is still relevant. In that aspect, for them, it should be okay. Say the global currency will be global reserve or a global bridge whenever they are dealing with another country, say India to China, China to US, US to China, or whatever. If they are dealing with directly in their own currency, it should be okay for them, right? They don't need dollar. So the global dollar dominance would not actually push their businesses down. Right? So in that particular aspect, that is correctly quoted for XRP, a bridge asset, global bridge asset. These are not, just conspiracy or other kind of things, right? This document of National Economic Stabilization and Recovery Act kind of states this: the Federal Reserve System is abolished and replaced by a new Treasury Reserve System. The control of the currency is moved from private control of Fed to public control of Congress. Now, previously or recently, we just saw that, Fed.org was changed into Fed.government. So the authority is kind of moving. Now, this documents which we are reading is not like which came yesterday. All of them are talking about old documents. It's published way back, but it is happening now, right? The implementation is kind of going on. So when you actually read through the entire document, you can get a lot more of this. You just go into Google, type in NESARA, the National Economic Stabilization and Recovery Act, and you'll actually get this file. If you like the content, do hit that like button and the subscribe button along with the bell notification icon.